Hello, and welcome back to April's Cozy Corner. Grab your tea, your coffee, and your blanket, maybe even a crochet project or a coloring book, and let's spend a little quiet time together. Tonight, I want to talk about someone in a world that often rewards loudness, drama, and constant performance somehow managed to remain grounded. This is the story of Zendaya. Not just the actress, not just the fashion icon, not just the celebrity, but the young woman behind it all, and what her journey can teach us about grace, discipline, identity, and growing into yourself without losing yourself. I think that's something a lot of us are trying to figure out. Zendaya Coleman was born on September 1st, 1996, in Oakland, California. Even her name carried meaning. Zendaya comes from Shona language and means to give thanks. And in many ways, her entire presence feels intentional, calm, observant, and thoughtful. Before Hollywood ever knew her name, she was simply a little girl growing up in Oakland with her parents who valued education, creativity, and discipline. Her mother worked as a teacher, her father worked as a bodyguard, and later became deeply involved in helping manage her career. What's interesting about Zendaya's upbringing is that although she would eventually become one of the biggest stars in the world, her childhood itself was relatively grounded. She wasn't raised inside celebrity culture. She spent time around schools, theater programs, community arts, and everyday people. And honestly, I think that shaped her more than fame ever could. Because sometimes what keeps people grounded later in life is having a strong foundation before the world starts projecting things onto them. Before Disney, before red carpets, before Euphoria, Zendaya loved to perform. She attended the California Shakespeare Theater and participated in productions as a child. And something I admire about Zendaya is that she didn't emerge from nowhere. A lot of people see celebrities only after they become famous, but there are usually years of quiet work underneath the success. Years where nobody is clapping yet. Years where you're still participating, still learning, still trying to believe in yourself. That applies to regular people too. Whether it's YouTube, art, writing, crocheting, music, or healing emotionally. Sometimes we quit too early because nobody sees the vision. But growth often happens in private first. Zendaya's major breakthrough came when she was cast as Rocky Blue on Disney Channel's Shake It Up alongside Bella Thorne. And for many young actors, Disney becomes both an opportunity and a challenge because suddenly you're no longer just a teenager. You become a brand. People expect perfection from you while you're still trying to discover who you are yourself. And I think one thing that makes Zendaya different, even back then, was how composed she seemed. Not perfect, not emotionalist, but intentional. She rarely appeared desperate for attention. She didn't seem obsessed with controversy. She carried herself with a kind of quiet self-awareness. And that's rare in entertainment, especially for young women. Imagine becoming famous before fully knowing yourself. Imagine every hairstyle, every outfit, every awkward phase, every mistake being discussed online by millions of people. That's the reality for many child star experiences. And I think one of the reasons people connect with Zendaya is because she managed to evolve publicly without completely losing her sense of self. That doesn't mean fame didn't affect her. Of course it did. But she seemed to understand something important early on. Attention is not the same thing as identity. And I think social media has blurred that line for many people. Sometimes we begin performing ourselves instead of actually living. We curate, we edit, we chase validation, and slowly we stop hearing our own voice underneath all the noise. But Zendaya often seemed very selective about what she shares. And I think that boundary has protected her a lot. One thing Zendaya became known for quickly was fashion, but not in a shallow way. Fashion for her often felt artistic, intentional, and expressive. She took risks, honored Black beauty, experimented with silhouettes and textures, and what I love is that she never seemed afraid to evolve. That's something I think many women struggle with. We fear changing, we fear being misunderstood, we fear trying new versions of ourselves, but growth requires evolution. Sometimes becoming yourself means allowing old versions of yourself to fall away. Zendaya has also spoken before about unrealistic beauty standards in Hollywood. And realistically, being beautiful in the public eye sounds exhausting because the world stops seeing you as human. People project fantasies onto you, expect perfection, analyze every detail, and I think there's something powerful about women who remain soft without becoming consumed by performance. Women who understand my value is not only in how I look. That kind of grounding matters, especially now. When Zendaya took on Euphoria, it shocked many people who only knew her from Disney. Rue was messy, broken, complex, and painfully human, and Zendaya's performance showed emotional depth that many people underestimate. But what made the role powerful wasn't just the acting, it was the vulnerability, the humanity, the willingness to portray pain honestly instead of glamorizing it. And I think many people connected with Rue because underneath addiction and self destruction, there was loneliness, there was confusion, there was grief, there was emotional exhaustion, things many people quietly carry. Something else interesting about Zendaya's career is how relatively low drama she's remained compared to many celebrities. And honestly, that's becoming more rare. We live in a culture that often rewards chaos. But Zendaya built longevity through consistency, through professionalism, through being intentional and protecting her image carefully. And I think there's a lesson there too. You don't have to constantly self destruct to be interesting. Peace may not go viral as quickly, but peace builds stability. People have always been curious about Zendaya's personal life, especially her relationship with Tom Holland. But what I respect is how private and balanced she tries to remain. Not everything has to become content. I think some things grow better in private, such as friendship, love, dreams, and healing. The internet sometimes pressures people to expose every beautiful thing immediately, but privacy can be protected. I think the reason Zendaya resonates with so many people is because she represents a quieter type of power. Not loud dominance, not forced perfection, but composure, discipline, grace, and self-respect. Those qualities matter more long term than constant attention ever will. Because eventually attention fades, trends fade, but character stays with you. If you made it this far, thank you so much for spending this quiet little moment with me. I love to know your thoughts about Zendaya and what you think has helped her stay grounded throughout her career. And if you enjoy reflective content like this, soft conversations about life, healing, identity, creativity, and becoming, don't forget to subscribe to April's Cozy Corner. You can also follow me on Instagram for more cozy moments, reflective thoughts, and little pieces of everyday life between uploads. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, protect your peace, and keep becoming who you truly are.